Hey, welcome. So today, we're going to dig into an idea that is, well, both incredibly simple and surprisingly deep. How just planting a seed can be this powerful way to shape a child's character. We're talking about Montessori botany. And trust me, it's probably not what you're thinking. Let's get into it.
Everything kicks off with this. It's an act of faith, really. You take a tiny seed, you put it in the dark, give it a bit of water, and then you just wait. And then that little green shoot pushes its way out. It's a small miracle every single time. And in the Montessori world, this is where a huge lesson begins.
But of course, that little sprout is just the start. In the Montessori approach, that one seed is really the beginning of a much bigger idea. An idea about how we connect with the world around us and figure out our place in it.
Yeah, this is not the botany that I remember from school, with all the dry diagrams and memorizing Latin names. This is a living, breathing philosophy. It's all about sparking that sense of wonder and teaching a really deep respect for all living things by getting your hands dirty.
Okay, so what does that philosophy actually look like when you put it into practice? What are the real goals here? Let's break it down.
So take a look at these goals. You'll notice they're not really about getting an A on a test, are they? They're about character. The plant itself is the teacher. That daily act of watering it, that's a little lesson in responsibility. Waiting for that first sprout to appear, well, that's a masterclass in patience. And seeing it grow day by day, that inspires real awe and connects kids to where their food actually comes from. So, if you're going to take one thing away, it's this. Montessori botany is kind of a two-for-one deal. It's a science lesson for sure, but it's also a character-building exercise all wrapped up together. It uses the natural world to teach this really profound lesson that all life is connected.
Now, that all sounds great, right? But how do you make a huge idea like interdependence something a kid can actually grasp? Well, the answer is pretty simple. You learn with your hands.
This slide just lays out the difference so perfectly. On the left, you've got the Montessori way. You're feeling the soil, you're watching the leaves unfurl, you're caring for a living thing. The whole focus is on the process. And on the right, well, that's what a lot of us got, right? Learning from abstract diagrams, just memorizing terms instead of really understanding the life behind them. And to make these concepts really stick, Montessori uses these amazing hands-on materials. So kids aren't just shown a picture of a petal, they actually put together a wooden puzzle of a flower. They use something called a leaf cabinet to learn how to classify shapes by touch, not just by looking. It's all about making science something you can interact with using all your senses.
But as cool as all those tools are, the most important material isn't something you can buy or put in a box. The real classroom, the most powerful teacher of all, is the garden itself.
And this is where it all comes together. The gardening cycle is a whole story in itself. Kids learn what responsibility feels like by watering the plants every day. They learn patience as they watch that slow, steady miracle of growth. And then they learn about life cycles firsthand when they finally get to harvest the very food they nurtured from a tiny seed.
Okay, so now let's look at how all of this comes to life in a real classroom. This is where you can see the incredible impact this method has on a single kid. Picture this. It's a classic experiment, but here it's a totally personal journey. A little girl places one bean seed in some wet cotton. Every single day, she carefully adds a few drops of water and just watches, waiting. And then, this magic moment happens. She doesn't just point to a picture in a book. She holds up her sprouting seed, the one she cared for, and with so much pride and real understanding, she explains what she's seeing. She knows what roots and stems are because she watched them grow. And that is the result. That's the whole point. Through this direct personal experience, science isn't just some boring subject anymore. It becomes alive. It becomes her story. And that lesson, it's going to stick with her forever. So, as we start to wrap this up, let's bring it all back to that one core idea, the lesson that grows right there alongside the plant. When it all comes down to it, the most important lesson isn't really about photosynthesis. It's about life. It's about growth and care and understanding our place in this interconnected world. Caring for a plant becomes like a training ground for caring about life itself.
And what's so great is you can totally bring this whole philosophy home. Here are a few simple tips. Go for real plants, not plastic ones. Give your child some genuine responsibility for taking care of it. Use the precise, scientific language. It actually shows respect for them and the plant. And most importantly, just share in the absolute awe of watching something grow.
Which kind of leaves us with this final thought to chew on. If this simple act of nurturing a plant can teach us so much about empathy, patience, and respect for life, it really makes you wonder, what's the most important thing we can choose to grow in ourselves and in each other?